Everybody, all his friends who knew him, he'd come up and say, "Hello, Terry, life is just a bowl of cherries," you know, it was fantastic.
Life is juster. And some say life can be juster, just a bowl of cherries.
Terry Frost, his wife Kath, and their 6 children lived in Banbury for much of the 1960s and 70s. In 1995, he travelled up from Cornwall to visit the exhibition at Banbury Museum to celebrate his 80th birthday. In 1941, while serving in the army in Crete, he was captured and became a prisoner of war. He ended up in Bavaria, in Stalag 383.
And way back in 1940, in a place of incarceration, far, far away from home, in the very midst of war, in a time ripe for despair, a gift thou somehow didst retrieve.
While a prisoner of war, he met the artist Adrian Heath, who taught him to paint.
Being an abstract artist in 1949 was quite different. I was doing portraits for a living because I'd done portraits in the prison camp. Therefore, if you're doing portraits in the prison camp, you've got to get a likeness because there's 14 men in your room, and as they walk past, they tell you exactly what they think of it. So I learned to get a likeness. But when I go to abstract art, I found a freedom in myself to deal in a poetic way with shapes and colours. And it is like writing poetry.
The Frosts left Cornwall to live in Banbury in the hard winter of 1963.
I think it was finance and work. There were 6 of us in a one up, one down in St Ives, 12 Key Street, and he'd hit a certain level of notoriety is the wrong word, a certain amount of fame and been established as an artist and a well-known artist in his field. But there were 6 of us and we're all growing up very fast, and so I think he got a job at Reading University as a lecturer in fine art, so which paid a salary. So he bought a house in Banbury, which was in commuting distance to Reading.
Kath Frost reportedly fell in love with a big square house with large rooms and high ceilings and a garden. And with 5 sons and a daughter, plus friends, it was a busy place.
And I tended to go much more often up to Simon's house as opposed to him coming down to me, because there was more to do there. And there was a price to pay. Kath always made sure that you had to do some chores, like help out with some washing up or hoovering or maybe tidying up the boot room or something like that. And then you could play.
At that time, and bear in mind I was sort of only 19 or 20 anyway, but there were children everywhere, kids everywhere. And Kath, being the great sort of background organiser and keeping the whole thing together, keeping a hold on the whole thing, was there sort of in the kitchen making coffee for everybody and taking care of all that side of Terry's life, really.
She was fantastic because she had to not only look after the kids, and also support Terry in his work, which must have been very hard in any stage of anybody's life to be married to an abstract artist, let alone an artist. But having said that, my dad was, I remember more often than not, he would be the one getting up in the morning, making breakfast and making sure we got to school just as many times as my mum, because he'd be up, because he's an old army boy, he was up at the crack of dawn.
My impression as I entered the space was one of colour everywhere. I mean, the whole of the ground floor was occupied with paintings, and they were in fact Terry's working studios. So it was an impression of colour and harmony and visual dynamics, and something that was almost a totally overwhelming experience.
6 kids, a lazy abstract artist husband, 5 naughty boys and a beautiful girl, Yeah, it was hectic, but I just remember it all good. Banbury was fantastic because the house in Banbury, a front garden and a back garden, where we just as boys went wild in, and behind the house was a huge field with a couple of cows in it.
There was also a darts board, and and that used to hang just near in the middle of some stack of paintings. And I know I wasn't very good. There was 5 lads and 1 girl, Kate. Between us all, I'm quite sure there must have been a few darts that went awry from time to time.
And the whole house was dominated by paintings and thus dominated by colour. Terry was a man of colour.
It's no good having 25 different colours if you don't know how to use them for start.
Terry talking at Warwick Arts Centre.
But if you can learn about strong contrast, which is red to black to white, so that means every mark you make makes every other shape work. Red, black and white are my favourite paints because they were the cheapest. In fact, I only had black and white to start with. Then somebody gave me a tube of cadmium red, which I couldn't possibly afford. So I used that. So I've now done another contrast, another colour of equal strength, black, white and red. Wow.
I only realised later on when I was in my mid-20s, so later on in life, that he was very much into poetry, and I started reading, still do, reading, when he had a show, the catalogues they produced for the show with the works reproduced in them, there was always a quote from the artist in the front, and he would quote poetry, he would write his own poetry, and then when he died, and we were going through all the estate stuff and all that, we found so much stuff in diaries and in notebooks of him writing about art and how he feels about it.
Gleaming the steel line slipping behind the window, my lovely train-riding son, bouncing your head on 6 willows, preparing to land your container of gold in cleared lilac above the green fold. Stop and sit at King Sutton Holt, just to my left, and now to my right. Come with me to Banbury.
Yes, he used to put a sign round his neck saying, "Wake me at Reading" or "Wake me at Banbury," because he used to nod off quite regularly and miss his stop. But often we get telephone calls, "Come to Birmingham and pick me up," and all this sort of stuff.
In the 1990s, Christine O'Sullivan was studying A-level art at night school in Banbury. Armed with her trusty dictaphone, she recorded her meetings with Terry.
And for part of that, you needed to write personal study. So it seemed obvious, really, that I would look at writing about Terry Frost. So I'd arranged to interview him. That's where the tapes came from.
When I came back to Banbury, I got involved in Compton Williams, Marquis of Northampton's place. He was on the wrong side in the Civil War and had the windows bricked in, the moat filled in, all that kind of art, but he still owns it. And in the chapel there, I saw the flag that was carried to the Battle of Edge End there, because 4 of his sons were killed in that battle. And these couple of guys that were there, and the big swords, and I was alone in there with this flag with the circles round the end of the chevron like that. And I was flabbergasted, I thought, I really felt about that, being in the area, because I knew Edge Hill. I used to bike out there as a kid from Remington. And when I came out of the little chapel at Compton Williams, someone had been picking up the plaster, and they'd discovered a moon underneath several coats. And that stopped me in my stride, because I hadn't saw it and I went in, and I was terribly moved by the situation where the flag was. I saw that moon, beautiful, so pale. I use that in the paintings quite often, just because of that moment.
Well, I think Terry's spoken about, and you can see it very evidently in his work, the influence of things like the road signs. Where he lives in Old Parr Road, they had a no entry sign at one end and a one-way sign at the other. It's described as being a little pocket of road signs. And of course, road signs are, no matter where you live, they're pretty much all over the place. And I think the connection between those and the symbolism of signs that he saw at Compton Winyates really drew things together.
Banbury Museum was still at its old site at Banbury Cross for Terry's 80th birthday exhibition.
My memories are of Terry making the introductory talk in his famous beret and his even more famous Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries sweater, and memories of Terry as the great sort of communicator, the great raconteur.
If you're in the art game, it's a wonderful world because it's so dangerous, you know. and my advice to anybody who's trying to paint, don't be afraid of doing a few bad ones, because if you don't do some bad ones, you'll never do a good one. And thanks a lot for coming. I think it's absolutely
So many people that were all over the world, I travel all over the world, they come and say to me, your dad taught me at Newcastle, at Leeds, at Reading mostly, and they just all said the same thing. He said he was just full of joy for his work and for other people's work. There was never any negativity. It was like, no, you do go, and it wasn't like, that's wrong, you're doing it wrong. He would try this way, try that. They all said the same thing, very, very positive, and very jolly with it as well, which comes across in his work.
The thing I value most of all about Terry is the fact that in the situation in which I encountered him when I met him, we could talk quietly and in a very considered way about all aspects of art and life. And of course, life and art and life are synonymous, you know. And I don't think I would have got that in any other way.
No, I don't know if I got a fondest memory. There's lots of times where it's been really nice to be in the presence of Frost and his family, and to have that enthusiasm rub off on you, really, because they are an exuberant family.
He was one of life's characters, you know. He was gregarious, ebullient, a person of incredible generosity and spirit, generous to a fault, interested in everything in life, especially the visual aspects of life, you know. And just, as I said, a most memorable man. You know, once you'd met Terry Frost, you would never ever forget Terry Frost, you know.
And you stuck your brush in a pot of red paint, and on the sea of eternal black, you brought those red cherries to life.
A song yesterday on the radio by Doris Day, a really slow but life is just a bowl of cherries. Don't take it serious. It was brilliant, and me and my wife just stopped in the kitchen, and it's as if he was there.